This is the mop up for June 5th, 2023. I'm David Feldman, and joining us from Los Angeles, he is the founder and the treasurer of the Blue America PAC, and he writes Down with Tyranny, Howie Klein. Welcome, Howie.
Thank you. Welcome to you.
So I was looking through Down with Tyranny last night, figuring out what to talk about with you. I guess the first thing we should discuss is the evangelicals, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump. How do the evangelicals explain their devotion to, as you write, their new messiah, Donald Trump? And is DeSantis gaining on Trump in the evangelical lane?
Well, I don't. Well, I mean, yeah, any support that DeSantis gets is at Trump's expense. But and he's getting some. But they're both characters that the evangelical community associates with. The problem is that the evangelical community has lost touch with Jesus Christ and Jesus's message, and that's a real problem because there are so many of them, and they're I mean, if look at DeSantis's whole war against woke that he keeps carrying on about, him and that mafia wife of his, and then you've got that. I mean, if these evangelicals were in any way familiar with Jesus's message, it's the opposite of Ron DeSantis. It's like Ron DeSantis is representing the devil, and not that Trump isn't, but I mean, really, they both are. And this war against woke is a war against Jesus.
And why isn't anybody fighting fire and brimstone with fire and brimstone? Why aren't people?
I am.
You are. But where are the evangelical Christians? Where are the rabbis? Where are the religious figures saying, "Stop! This is not what Jesus would say"? Do we have?
You do have some of that. Obviously, the first place you would look for that would be John Pavlovitz, and he does have a piece on that today on his own blog, where it's called "Woke." I think "Woke Will Win," "Woke Will Win," and he talks about it in some depth about how he doesn't really talk about the Jesus part, but he does talk about what woke means in reality and how wrong DeSantis and Trump are to put it down. I mean, Trump doesn't use the word woke because he thinks it's it's kind of a trademark of.
Let me as a favor, could you hold off on cooking until just give me 20 more minutes without cooking? I apologize.
What are you? I was just watching.
What are you cooking tonight?
Well, a lot. I made an onion pie, which is unbelievably delicious. It's an onion mushroom pie.
Okay.
No cheese. Instead of cheese, I use nutritional yeast.
Right.
And a incredible chickpea vegetable soup that's like mouthwateringly good. So that is those two things are the main course. And then for dessert, I made a chocolate cake. And what you heard before was me just washing a wooden spoon, because I made a raspberry sauce to go over the chocolate cake.
Okay. Just give me 20 minutes without the cooking. All we have with you is the sound. So the evangelicals, will any of them come to their senses, or is there something baked into this iteration of Christianity where they love the sinner? And
well, not Christianity. I mean, the evangelical thing is different from Christianity in general. I mean, mainline Protestants and a lot of Catholics see through this thing, and they're not into it. I mean, it's not like they're all Trumpists or DeSanti people. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Thank God. Evangelicals are the ones who are the most likely to be looking for someone to tell them what to do. just like the Haredi or the Hasidics. They
Right.
just want someone to tell them what to do, so they don't have to think about it, and that's their personality. They have a personality that is very, very exploitable by fascism.
And despite his transgressions, Trump gave the evangelicals everything they wanted, the Supreme Court of their dreams. We've turned back Roe v. Wade. Now there's a war on the LGBTQ community. They're, are they winning the cultural war slowly, or what do you think? Last week you said they're not.
Yeah, and I was going to just say that again. I don't think that they're winning. They've got their, I mean, if they were winning, Trump would be over 50%, but he never gets there.
But he's not winning. But are the evangelicals winning? When you
Well,
think that you can't get an
have,
abortion
they
in
have they have the Supreme Court that they wanted, and in some of the backward states like Arkansas that have really bad bad education and bad health and things like that, they've managed to ban abortion. But they're not going to have a national abortion ban. They're going to continue to lose elections due to this, and then eventually even the Supreme Court. It may take a long time, but eventually that'll turn around as well.
But it seems like a lot of damage is being done during the
Yes,
interim.
yes. When when you think of a state like Texas, for example, there are millions of normal people in Texas, and they live in Houston and in Austin and Dallas and San Antonio and El Paso, and these people have to, put up with this, crazy right wing government, and it's a problem. It's a real problem for these folks. I mean, friends of mine, literally, friends of mine have moved out of Florida or are moving out of Florida. Friends of mine are, I was talking with a guy the other day whose son is a trans person, and the family's moving. They don't. I mean, they love Texas and they don't want to move. They live in Austin. They absolutely love it, and the wife is selling her business, and my friend is pulling up stakes, and everything he's built is going to be gone, and they're moving to another state.
Because you're giving license to the transphobes to beat them up, to persecute, to taunt. It's not just banning medical treatment. It's opening the floodgate for hate.
That's right, and to do everything they can to make these children feel somehow that they're less human beings. And my friend isn't going to put up with that for his son.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. His daughter.
Right. Right. What do? We just start sorting out the states, like Marjorie Taylor Greene said, or we go into these states and fight? I think.
Well, in a lot of cases, we do have to fight. I believe, but in the case of a young child in this kind of a situation, I don't think the parents are going to be able to put. I mean, my friend is very, very strong, and if he can't do it, I can't see anybody being able to do it.
So, is there something wrong with our side? Because in 2016, I believe it was North Carolina, they passed an anti trans law, the bathroom bill that was just signed into law in Florida. In North Carolina in 2016, they signed the identical law, and there was a boycott of North Carolina. Within 2 years, they had a new governor, and that law was taken off the books. Why aren't we boycotting Florida? Why is the LGBTQ community doing gay days at Disney World? Well, I guess Disney World deserves the support. They're leading the fight against DeSantis in Florida. So I understand that. Why isn't there a boycott of Florida? There's an LGBTQ advisory for travel to Florida.
And not just LGBTQ. I mean, the NAACP put out an advisory, and the biggest Hispanic group in America put out an advisory. So there were quite a few advisories, and that's kind of a warning signal. And I don't know if they're going to wind up putting out a boycott or not. I think people are making up their own minds at this time if they want to go and spend money in Florida, and we'll see. Don't know yet. I don't want to. I don't want to condemn our side for that.
What?
Remember, the Florida Democratic Party practically doesn't exist anymore. It's been, decimating itself over the last decade, and it's just absolutely pathetic. It's like the Ohio Democratic Party, just like non-existent. It has little ghettos where it exists, like in Broward County or in Miami, where it's failed anyway, in Jacksonville. But, there was just an election in Jacksonville, and it was an open seat, but they had a Republican mayor, and the Democrat beat the Republican, and very handily.
Right. She's a reporter, right? A journalist.
A journalist, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I have high hopes for what's going to happen. The Democratic Party is pretty pathetic. The main reason to vote for them is because the Republicans are so bad. So it's, we're back in a situation of the lesser of two evils, and that's that's unfortunate. I mean, don't you wish there was someone like FDR
or
where,
Bobby Kennedy?
Where there wouldn't even be a Republican Party left. They would be so pulverized. But instead, we have a Democratic Party that just voted for the bill that the Republicans put together, basically, and that's how did that happen?
Right. 55 years ago on June 5th, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. How different would the world have been had he been able to make it to the Oval Office?
I don't know. Who knows? That's a funny question, David. Do you know that I knew him pretty well? I was a kid.
You
very,
worked
very
the
young.
elevator.
That's right. I worked his elevator. So every day he would get on the elevator, and more often than not, he would be talking with somebody and saying things that he would never say to the press, but saying them in front of me, thinking that I was a piece of furniture.
Right. I've come around on the Kennedys. As a child, I was obsessed with them, and then I learned some stuff about them, and I went, they're just as bad as everybody else. As I get older, I realize that there's a poetry to politics that lasts, and they understood the poetry of politics, and that is you have to take care of everyone. The noblesse oblige of wealthy Kennedys. Teddy Kennedy turned out to be a great senator who was committed to taking care of the least among us. To his dying day, he was trying to take care of the poor. Why would anybody go into politics otherwise? What's the point? To get rich? Why? How do these politicians justify their?
Well, I don't know that they justify necessarily their motives. A lot of them are motivated by other things, like the idea of power, the need for adulation, and of course, getting rich is a factor as well.
Right, and it's just when you look at somebody like Kevin McCarthy, it's just ambition. It's just the desire for power by any means necessary. Did he stare into the abyss and blink when it came to the Freedom Caucus and the debt ceiling negotiations? Was there some halo effect with him? Did he think, "Oh my God, I'm the Speaker of the House. I can't give in to these crazies"?
No, I think he said quite the opposite. Like, I'm the Speaker of the House. I can't give in to this Biden character. I think he got a lot of what he wanted and prevented the Democrats from getting almost anything. I mean, what did the Democrats get out of this thing other than, not going over the cliff? They didn't get anything.
Well, he didn't touch.
I think McCarthy did pretty well. Did he get everything that the Freedom Caucus wanted? No, he didn't. And that was never going to happen. But he got a lot of it. I mean, basically, the deal that they signed was a Freedom Caucus deal, just not as bad as it could have been.
Well, that's not what conventional wisdom is.
No kidding.
Conventional wisdom is the Freedom Caucus says it's a garbage deal. They didn't vote for it.
Right. They're angry. They're angry because they didn't get what they wanted. But, what is it, 46 of, well, a few dozen of the best Democrats in Congress voted against it. And they voted against it because it was a turd sandwich.
As Chip Roy called it.
Yes, that's exactly. They called it a crap sandwich, a shit sandwich, and a turd sandwich. I think it was Marjorie Trader Green who said shit sandwich, Lauren Boebert crap sandwich, and but the initial thing was turd sandwich, which is what I like, and that was Chip Roy.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's had his share. They didn't touch Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. There were no work requirements for Medicaid. There's some work requirements for food stamps, which is horrific. I mean, it's disgusting. But they got an increase to the military that Biden wanted. I don't know what.
Yeah,
but
that's right. That Biden wanted.
So what did the Freedom Caucus get?
That was that. They wanted all that and more. They wanted. Look, if it was up to the Freedom Caucus, they would have abolished the IRS, and that isn't going to happen. But they managed to get $21 billion. Sorry,
I thought it was $10 billion, but
no, it was 21 billion, 21 point something billion.
That's significant.
So over 21 billion. Yeah, of course it is. Out of the 80 billion that they gave them, But what the Biden people say is that what they say now is that they can play around with the books and it's going to be okay, even with that large amount of money, because they can still spend what they want. It's not segregated by year, and all we need is another Democratic president and House and Senate, and we can add the 20 billion back. That kind of thing. And they're saying that about everything. But on the other hand, the Republicans are saying the opposite. All we need is to take over the Senate and get a Republican president, and we can get everything we wanted.
Setting the stage for the next couple of months, we're going to be focusing on the past and the future, but not now. We're going to look back at all the legislative achievements that Biden's had. We're going to look forward to what he will have if he gets reelected, short of a national crisis, which I'm sure we will have. We won't be focusing on the here and the now. This is the season for politics and policy, right?
And Cornel West.
This is where you start kind of horse racing things and focusing on whether or not these bills that did get passed were worked or didn't. So the next year and a half is just a dogfight, right?
Yeah, I mean, as I've been saying and will always be saying, to me, it's going to all be, who's the lesser of two evils, and how do you convince these independents and swing voters that the Republicans are the greater of two evils? And that's really all it's about. I mean, you can't make a really big case for the Democrats. You can say they're not as bad as the Republicans. That's about it. And that is something, as I've said over and over again, that my grandfather taught me when I was a little kid. He said, the only thing that's worse than a Democrat is a Republican.
We're not going to see any major pieces of legislation passed. However, McCarthy did posture and brag about being able to reach across the aisle on this budget deal. Is there anything looming that could get passed? Anything of significance?
They'll pass. No, not of significance. They'll pass things of not significance in a bipartisan way, but I don't see anything significant passing. I mean, the Republicans this week have, a bill to save your gas stove and a bill to, the other big one, the Rain Act they're bringing up again to get rid of lots of regulations. They'll pass both of those things, and then the Senate won't even take them up.
And Biden's executive orders are going through the courts now. Are there any executive orders he's going to be signing between now and Election Day that we can look forward to, or is it just now posturing and foreign policy? It's going to be foreign policy mostly, right?
Well, he hasn't mentioned to me whether or not he's going to have any executive orders, but I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with one that's popular and have that as another thing they can run on.
A war.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, but that there'll be some crisis where he'll have to look presidential. Why is he polling so poorly? Obviously, I'm not a fan of Biden's, but I'm voting for him. But
you're voting for him instead of Cornel West?
I maybe in the primaries. Is Cornel running in the Democratic Party? Or
yes. Cornel announced his campaign today.
Well, I would have to vote I live in New York, so I would have to vote for him in the primaries. But in the general, first off, is Biden or Trump going to participate in the debates with their challengers? Forget the debates in November. Trump isn't showing up for the Republican debate in August.
I don't think he will. His point is that why should he appear on the same stage as these people and give them publicity? He'll probably have some kind of a thing that he'll run at the same time as the Republican debate in Milwaukee. His point is that he's bigger than the debate.
Right.
Probably true.
It is probably true.
And, in order to be in the debate, one of the requirements is that you have to pledge that you will support the eventual winner. And Trump's not going to do that. He's not. I mean, unless he wants to lie, but right. He's certainly not going to support anybody whose name is Donald J. Trump.
And you got to win the caucuses and the primaries. So, is there anything in Iowa that suggests Mike Pence is stronger than we believe?
Not that I've seen.
Because the guy with the vest, the guy from Pennsylvania, won Iowa. What's his name? I forgot. The anti-abort. Rick Santorum. Right. Didn't he win Iowa?
He may have.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iowa's a quirky, weird place. They don't have a primary. They have the caucus system. And I don't think that anyone really cares what happens in Iowa.
Yeah. And you write that Trump is going to be indicted because of the classified documents, that he gave an interview with Mark Meadows' autobiographers. That literally his autobiographers. And he said there was a war plan against Iran that he had, and they can't find it. And he said on tape, this is classified, I can't show it to you. And the fact that he knew it was classified and they couldn't show it to these writers is proof that he knew he was committing a crime, right?
Yeah, I think they have lots of proof, way beyond that. And, that's just one indication. But I think that, what's his name? Jack.
Is it Smith?
I think so. Yeah, Jack Smith has got tons of stuff on him, and it's just growing. And I think it's not going to be too long before he does indict him.
And once he's indicted,
I'm worried that they're going to make him drop out of the race, and we're going to be stuck with DeSantis and that witch wife.
What's the story with the wife? She's getting bad press. Politico wrote a nasty piece about her, and you said mopped up?
Yeah, well, her uncle was Johnny Bananas. I mean, she grew up as a mafia princess.
Really?
And she's a her nickname among Republicans in Florida is the scorekeeper. I mean, they don't like her. No one likes her. She's a horrible, awful person. She's worse than DeSantis.
So her uncle was Joey Bananas. Who was Joey?
Yes, he was to the consigliere for the boss of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia mob. And then there was a kerfuffle and a little mistake. He thought he had permission from the commission to kill that guy.
Nicky
So
Scarfo?
he did kill him. No, I can't remember his name.
Okay.
But that isn't it. So he did kill, I don't think it's his name. So he did kill him. He killed his boss. There was a fight over a meth deal or a meth business, and he murdered him, or he had him murdered. And then the next thing is he went in front of the commission, called him, and he went in front of the commission. And he said he had permission. They said, "Who gave you permission?" And he said, "Well, he did." And he pointed to one of the guys, and the guy said, "I never gave him permission." And then the next thing is that Joey Bananas and his brother-in-law, who was the one who pulled the trigger, were found beaten to death, naked in the trunk of their car.
So that's her father's brother or mother's brother?
Mother's brother.
Her mother's brother, but her mother wasn't mobbed up, right?
Who knows?
That she's a mafia princess. Mike Pence and
He's a mafia princess also.
He's a princess.
He's definitely a mafia guy.
Are you joking?
Chris Christie?
Oh, no. I thought you Mike Pence. Chris Christie?
No, not Mike Pence. Mike Pence is just a princess.
But Chris Christie?
Yes.
New Jersey governor. And why would he be? Why would he be running? He doesn't stand a chance.
Well, no, he has no chance. Although these politicians have such big egos that he thinks if he gets on the national stage, everyone will fall in love with him, like his best friends tell him. But the conventional wisdom is that he's running just to prevent Trump from getting in. That he's the only one who's strong enough to go in and heckle Trump and call him out and destroy him. His claim to fame is that he destroyed Marco Rubio, allowing Trump free access, and he thinks he can do it. I think it's insane and absurd, and especially because he's not going to wind up on the stage with Trump, because he's not going to have 40,000 individual donors, I don't think, and he's not going to. I don't think he'll poll well enough to get on the stage. Maybe he will, but then Trump won't be on the stage. And in fact, he won't be on the stage because he has already publicly said that he will not support Trump. That means he doesn't get to participate in the debate, at least the first debate. This wasn't rules for the entire thing. It was just rules for the August debate in Milwaukee.
Right.
And they'll change those rules because Trump isn't going to participate, and they're going to wind up excluding people, and you're going to have a debate with a bunch of clowns.
For the first time, before you go, for the first time, we're seeing polling showing Trump leading Biden in the general election.
That was just one outlier poll, and there have been other polls that came out since then that show otherwise. I don't think that poll is. Pollsters make mistakes. They do it wrong sometimes, and this one poll, got it wrong.
Okay.
And everyone got very nervous about it.
I watched the Trump town hall, and then I watched the one with Hannity last week. He's an amazing liar. I forgot.
Has always been.
He just incredible. And I thought, Biden can't debate him in his current state. Wouldn't Trump mop the floor with Biden?
Yes.
So how big a threat is Trump? Are we looking at another 4 years of Trump?
I don't know. I mean, there's no way to tell. I mean, he's going to get indicted, and I assume what they'll do is they'll tell him, you're going to go to jail for a decade, and you're going to die in jail unless you retire from politics. That's what I assume is going to happen.
Last question.
Yo.
The reason I was thinking about our conversation last week, the reason I think Trump is less dangerous than DeSantis is, despite everything that Trump did, in a way, the system held. I'm talking worst case scenario. that there were enough Republicans who either openly or quietly undermined his presidency, that he had the dregs of the Republican Party at the end
Well,
of
he
it.
won't this time. I mean, there'll be dregs, but they know what to do. He's very, very dangerous. Don't think he's not. And the people around him are very dangerous. I don't think he's any more or less dangerous than DeSantis. I mean, I hate both of them equally, and fear both of them. But I don't think that either one of them is going to get in.
DeSantis wants something. To me, Trump just wants the attention and money and will say and do whatever it takes. He's not on a Hitlerian mission to transform America, is he, the way DeSantis is?
That's right. I agree.
So
I don't think he cares one way or the other.
So the worst case scenario is DeSantis gets elected president, not Trump. Right?
In my heart, I feel that.
Yeah, I do too. And Biden should be more popular, even though we wanted Bernie. I don't understand why he's not doing better in the polling. I think he has a record that he can run on for low information Democrats. I think if you're a low information Democrat who's not falling through the cracks, I think Biden did the job for you. Not if you're half this country that can't come up with $1,000 for an emergency, but if you're a low information liberal Democrat, Biden has been a success, right?
Biden is appealing to about 40% of the population, and I don't see why he should appeal to more than that.
Okay.
I don't think he's any good, and people see it, and they don't necessarily vote on policy either.
Right.
They just look at him and they think no.
Okay. Howie Klein, founder, treasurer of the Blue America PAC. Read him every day over at Down with Tyranny. Thank you, Howie. Enjoy the chocolate cake with the raspberry sauce.
Thanks, David. Take
Okay.
care.
I'll talk to you next week, I hope. That is Howie Klein. Read him every day over at Down with Tyranny. He is my moral compass. I learn who to vote for by reading Down with Tyranny. I didn't know that about Ron DeSantis's wife. Once again, something salacious. It's a salacious civics lesson whenever Howie Klein from Down with Tyranny is on the show. So go read him, endorse the candidates he tells you to, and donate to all the candidates he supports, because he's right. Howie Klein is always right. Please share this video with your friends. That's the best way to help this show. Please like it. Please subscribe to my newsletter, Office Hours, every Friday night at 8 p.m. The Zoom link is available over at my website or in my newsletter. I think that covers everything. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you to the moderators in the chat room for keeping this civil. I think we have a newscast later tonight. Hope to see you then. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak.